Splash Mountain has been cancelled, closed, and rethemed, but the reality behind this story is much deeper than you realize. The replacement ride is just as problematic, and Disney fans are not happy about it at all. Disney World Florida's beloved Splash Mountain was shut for good on January 23, 2023. The ride had opened in Magic Kingdom all the way back in 1990, based on the problematic movie Song of the South. It was one of Disney's first water-based attractions, and people loved it, queuing for hours to ride. The ride itself follows a sweet, simple story, but the movie behind it leaves modern audiences shocked, which is why Disney tries to hide it. It is one of very few movies in the Disney vault. But Splash Mountain was playful, as you follow Brer Rabbit on his adventure away from home, being chased by Brer Fox and Brazier Bear. Riders would flow in their log flumes, waiting for the big drop and spend all day singing Zip-a-dee-doo-dah after, thinking back to that revolutionary ride. Although the ride is themed around the animated characters from Song of the South and appears unproblematic, the movie itself has been branded as racist due to the storyline romanticizing plantation life in a post-Civil War South. Therefore, the ride by proxy enforces stereotypical racist tropes. Although many riders were unaware of this and loved Splash Mountain dearly, Disney had to act quickly as a petition reached 21,000 signatures calling for Splash Mountain to be rethemed. Die-hard Disney fans were disappointed in this and argued the ride itself could be separated from its history, that the ride was unproblematic and Disney are going too woke. So when Disney announced in 2020 that Splash Mountain would be closing and rethemed to Tiana's Bayou adventure, based on Princess and the Frog, they were met with just as much backlash as praise. But what if I told you Tiana's Bayou adventure is also problematic? Tiana's Bayou Adventure opened on June 28, 2024 to mixed reactions. New state-of-the-art animatronics and an updated look to the Midwestern area impressed casual Disney World fans, but the main criticism of the ride is that it lacks story. Splash Mountain was a 9-minute ride where you log flume through unique scene to unique scene, brimming with character, but Tiana's Bayou Adventure falls flat. But why? Princess and the Frog is a great movie, full of exciting characters and beautiful scenery. Well, here's the problem. Just like Splash Mountain, TBA has its own controversial history. Dr. Facilier, the villain of the movie, does not feature in the ride because he too perpetuates racist stereotypes in religious African communities who practices voodoo. The movie presents voodoo as evil, full of greed and anger when practitioners believe otherwise. Where Splash Mountain had jeopardy in its ride, tension, and buildup, the complete removal of Princess and the Frog's antagonist from Tiana's Bayou Adventure leaves the ride missing the suspense and dramatic tension that completed Splash Mountain. So Disney park goers feel shortchanged, and Disney ultimately failed again in creating a ride on the right side of history. It should be celebrated that Tiana's Bayou Adventure is the first Disney World ride based on a black princess, but instead, there's a focus on its movie being as culturally insensitive as Splash Mountain. Some fanatics argue that Dr. Facilier isn't in the ride due to him dying at the end of the movie, but plenty of Disney rides and sequels bring characters back to life. Disney also completed the ride on a tighter budget, and that has led to an unsuccessful opening of the ride. Tiana's Bayou Adventure is always closing and shutting down due to faults and maintenance. This has left Disney in an awful situation where they were criticized by some for retheming at all, then by other parties for retheming Splash Mountain to a movie that released in 2009 and isn't one of their biggest IPs, and then a whole bunch of actual park goers who can't ride the new rethemed attraction are complaining because it's constantly breaking down. But Disney's biggest problem isn't Tiana's Bayou Adventure, it is something much bigger. In the time Disney have rolled out the Princess and the Frog retheme across Disneyland California and Disney World Florida, Universal have announced a whole new park ready to open in May 2025. Disney are falling behind, and the politics behind Tiana's Bayou Adventure are a real insight into their problems. Whilst their biggest competitor is creating new rides based on fresh and exciting IP, Disney refused to expand their park or even replace rides properly. For example, Universal's new Epic Universe park has 5 new lands based on Harry Potter, Nintendo, villains, and How to Train Your Dragon. They are innovating with a huge scale project that appeals to everyone, from kids to parents. The new rides and worlds are being based on timeless projects. Why can't Disney do this? It's simple. They just aren't creating new movies that will be remembered forever. Who would ride a Turning Red ride? Is anybody gonna get on the Luca log flumes or the Strange World family ride? No, nobody is. Disney's problem goes deep to the core. They are running on borrowed time. Disney have failed their park visitors. It won't be long until Tiana's Bayou adventure closes because of cultural insensitivity towards voodoo and religious African communities. Although I agree with being on the right side of history and being aware and respectful, as that's what makes the world that bit better, makes communities stronger, but if you're going to replace an iconic ride like Splash Mountain, do it properly. Use a popular IP, make sure you have a great movie that you can theme it on, and absolutely do not make the mistake of replacing your ride with something just as problematic, because if you do, there's no point and it makes you seem clueless and inept as a business. It is time for Disney to take a leaf out of Universal's book and realize that as a business, they need to take a step back and take a different approach, or they will be on borrowed time, facing an impending business disaster. Disney haven't had a success like Toy Story or Monsters Inc. in years, but Universal are cropping up with amazing family movies based on existing IP. Think about this, when Disney were in their prime, the Cinderellas, the Snow Whites, and so on were all based on already existing fairy tales, similar to how Universal are capitalizing on existing popular projects like Mario. It's been around for decades. How to Train Your Dragon was based off of a popular book series. Harry Potter is one of the most successful book and movie series ever, but that also comes with its own controversy. But this has led to Disney retheming rides to 15-year-old movies that wasn't ever popular because they are running out of the Disney Golden Age movies. Apparently, Disney don't see Universal's new park as a threat, but they should. The hotels are a fraction of the price. The new rides will be cutting edge. They are expanding into the market of families with young kids even more. If Disney don't innovate, then it could be the end of Disney World before we realize, hear me out, Disney retheming Splash Mountain is the beginning of the end for their parks. Whilst their competitors expand and innovate, Disney are twiddling their thumbs over old movies, the politics of each ride, and falling behind. The bottom line is this. What would Walt Disney think today if he came to Disney World and got on Tiana's Bayou adventure? He'd ask where the magic is. He'd got lost in the lack of story. He wouldn't settle for the breakdowns and constant closures. But if Walt Disney went to Epic Universe, across the Isle of Berk world to the Ministry of Magic, he'd be blown away, and that's where Disney have gone wrong. They're settling for less. In an effort to make their ride more accessible and acceptable, detaching from its questionable history, they have actually made their park significantly worse. If you love theme parks, then make sure to subscribe and stay for our next videos on the world's weirdest theme parks. Thanks for watching Disaster Park.